When we talk about urbanization, it is a reality. More people moving out of rural areas into cities, and that's why we need to have this conversation. Nosipho joining us on the line via StreamYard so that we are live on radio, live on Facebook and YouTube all at the same time. Thank you for your time this morning, Nosipho.
Thank you very much, Jonathan, and thanks to your listeners for allowing us this platform.
You are so welcome. So, Nosipho, urbanization will continue unabated as people look for work opportunities and a better quality of life. But the increased population puts extra strain on already overstretched resources. Further, in the South African context and other emerging markets, millions of people live in urban informal settlements and are particularly vulnerable to climate change. What solutions do you put forward for our future cities to adapt?
Jonathan, I think the answer to your question lies in all of us. When we talk about adaptation to climate change and we talk about resilience, it's not a discussion that is just focused on government or what should governments do. It's what each and every one of us is doing in our small space, whether it is about separating our waste from source, opting for alternative energy sources, saving water, given the fact that we are a water scarce country. So, at an individual level and maybe at an organizational level outside of government, that would be a solution. Further to that, I think it is important that for governments to start acting on those commitments that they have made in the various contracts that they've signed internationally and the policies that they've adopted. So it's about time that we start seeing the real implementation of these policies that are meant to deal with climate change adaptation and climate resilience.
That is so, so good. And of course, is World Cities Day on the 31st of October. And today you are launching an urban festival. Tell us more about this and where is it taking place?
So we're very excited as SA Cities Network because we are a network of all metropolitan municipalities in South Africa, working with our various stakeholders, including COGTA, Department of Human Settlements, as well as other departments like your National Treasury and the likes. And this event is taking place online, and we've had a series of activations through papers that have been produced, as well as dialogues that have taken place. And the focus this year is really on matters of focusing on urbanization, adapting cities for climate change, and the discussions that we're going to have there go across various themes. They're looking at space. How do you make sure that the buildings that we have adapting in terms of space, designing cities in a way that they respond to climate resilience, but they also talk to issues of the economy as well, because often when we talk about the climate, we often don't associate it with it having downstream industries that it can support. There's going to be a particular focus on green jobs and how climate resilience can support green jobs and how we can actually activate it. So we're very excited with it. It will then end with World Cities Day on the 31st of October, which is celebrated internationally. So these series of engagements that are taking place between today and Friday are aimed at that big build-up of World Cities Days, where I'm hoping that even you in your own home will be celebrating this.
Yeah, it's amazing, and there are some incredible cities in on our planet. But it's important that we get it right, especially in this emerging market of our beautiful country. So, in terms of all these activities and everything like that, what has inspired this, and what are you hoping to achieve in the long term?
So the inspiration behind this is the fact that first of all, if we do not recognize matters of climate change and adaptation and resilience, we're living in a planet that has got infinite resources. So the sooner we realize that, and the sooner we say, let us all save our planet, the better it is going to be for us and for future generations as well. But what makes it the most important at this point in time is that over the past few years, globally and nationally, we've faced a number of crises. COVID-19 being one of the recent crises that we faced, and there's been a very good response in us dealing with the pandemic. And when it comes to matters of climate change and adaptation, it's an ongoing long debate. Carrying on the wave of COVID-19 and the response and the pulling together of everyone, we thought it would be best that we have this discussion while everyone still has this energy. But also very importantly is that this theme, it falls with the UN Habitat theme, which is also fostering cities to be very resilient and to be adaptive to matters of climate change. So what we're hoping to achieve out of this, it's not just dialogue. It's dialogue that is meant to change how we think, how we live, and how we act as individuals, as practitioners in our various spaces. And we're hoping for our partners in government to expedite their action when it comes to matters of climate resilience and adaptation of cities to respond to climate change.
Sure. It really is quite a big one. And we've been seeing on various news platforms the reality that climate change is something that we have to deal with now. And on top of that, looking at ESCOM and the amount of coal power stations that we have in our country, it's a big concern. I know people who live out in the Creole area and they are struggling with their health of their lungs and so forth because of all that pollution in the air from those coal power stations. So with regard to that, and I see that there's also a new bill on the table that slaps big polluters with a heavy carbon tax, this to transition our country to becoming a greener economy. It comes weeks before the United Nations Climate Change Conference, known as COP26, and demonstrates government's commitment to cut national emissions when it comes to carbon gases. How is this going to impact citizens and businesses? And do you feel that the South African government is actually doing enough to combat climate change?
On your last point, there's a bill that was passed by Parliament, which is now saying that municipalities can buy about 100 kilowatts of electricity from clean power producers, right? So at least from the legislative front, something is being done about that. But we're seeing a number of cities at varying degrees doing their best in terms of adaptation. Cities as well as private sector and government departments are opting for having green buildings. If you think about the city of Tshwane, their head office is declared a green building. But also we're seeing cases like in the city of Cape Town, initiatives that are being taken to recycle waste at source, not just done by the municipality, but done by the private sector as well, and some of the NGOs, which are very good initiatives. And in the city of Johannesburg, for instance, they've pioneered a concept where a landfill gas is recycled and put back into the grid. And therefore, what they're doing is that they're using methane gas which is emitted during the process of burning, and they're converting that into clean energy. And this gives various options in terms of the consumer on what energy are they using, not just entirely relying on electricity, but consciously saying, I'm going to choose clean energy. And these options make it easier for us to be contributing to this agenda of climate change. And what it will do for cities over time is that it will then require them to look at their funding structures, because currently some of them are relying on the money that they get from the distribution of electricity. But when more and more households then are opting for alternative energy, it does beg a question of saying how a municipality is going to sustain themselves. But over the long term, in terms of the economy, what it means is that what industries need to be supported for green energy to be mainstreamed across various sectors and households in South Africa.
Mm. I love what you're sharing with us this morning, Nosipho, because we have to rethink the way that we get energy, even with regard to that methane gas. And there are so many opportunities out there. We've just got to do it differently. We can't say this is how we've always done it, so we're just going to keep doing that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's been so great to chat to you this morning, Nosipho Hlatshwayo. Thank you for your time. She is the Executive Manager of Programs for South African Cities Networks. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. And we look forward to celebrating SA Cities on the 31st of October. Take care. God bless.
Thank you.